Hi, I'm Troy.
And I'm Vicki.
And we are Empty Nesters Wine. Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. This podcast has been fun. So make sure that you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to post a podcast every Monday afternoon. And like and subscribe. Some will be very interesting and some may not be as interesting to different people depending on your taste and your likes. But you can always fast forward through it and then get back on board next week.
Yeah, we tried to do a variety.
That's right. Speaking of a variety, today at the end of our podcast, we're going to try a variety of wine that's been interesting. Our Empty Nesters Apple Cranberry Wine. So at the end of the podcast today, we will do a little taste test of that. I think we mentioned in our last podcast about how we're very excited about opening a winery in historic Lecompton, Kansas. Today we're going to talk about Lecompton and the 24 years that we've been here. There's a lot of history before that, but both with Lecompton and with the Empty Nesters. We weren't empty nesters then, but...
Of course not. We're just finally empty nesters.
Right? Yeah, Lecompton's a really nice town. It's situated perfectly on the Kansas River. It's full of trees. There's a beautiful park. As I sit here at Empty Nesters Winery talking, I look out the window and there's a beautiful park right across the street. A family over there playing on a little merry-go-round, a couple walking by as they just exited Aunt Netter's carrying some to-go boxes of food. It's a real nice place, and you know that's just opinion, but fact. They did win the Reader's Choice Award as one of 5 best small towns in Kansas. So don't just take it from me, take it from Kansas Magazine.
I voted for him too.
Lecompton, Kansas. It's a place that you should come and visit. There's plenty to do here. There's a lot to see. All small towns have an annual summer festival. We have Territorial Day, and in Territorial Day, the entire street in front of our shop, Elmore Street, is lined with vendors selling things, food,
usually
slushies.
Games, yeah, bouncy houses and different little rides or different things.
And they were really going to put a good spin on it this year. They were going to have a barbecue cook-off challenge and stuff, and then the virus hit, and we had to cancel our Territorial Summer Festival Day this year. But I know it'll be back and better than ever. So I think LecomptonKansas.com or something. There's a website. Just Google Lecompton, Kansas. I'm sure you'll find out when Territorial Day 2021 will be. And you should be here for that. We have an annual car show every year. There's a mechanic shop just,
Down
3 doors down from us?
Yeah.
Bald Eagle Speed Shop. Once a year they have an annual car show, and they just recently had the one this year. And
it's usually in June.
Yeah, it was spectacular. Really, I think it was the best one that they've had, and they've been having it for, 6 years?
3 or 4.
3 or 4. Yeah, it was bigger and better. They had a lot of really cool cars. Some of them are old, beat-up cars ready to be refurbished.
Fixed back up.
Some of them are old, amazing-looking cars that have been refurbished. And then they have vendors, people that are selling stuff. And you get a good crowd out, and it's nice to rub elbows, so to speak, while you're social distancing with the citizens of Lecompton. They're really good people, and they come out for that kind of stuff. I think, did we have our first ever flea market this
we had the first
summer?
flea market, it was this summer.
Yeah, Bald Eagle Mercantile, which is antique shop right next door to us. They sponsored a flea market this year, and again, on the street right in front of our building, lined with booths and vendors.
They had a lot more vendors than they thought they were going to for their first ever one, so it turned out pretty nice.
Yeah, it was very cool. And that's Lecompton. We have several of those things going on. Territorial Day, the car show, the flea market. If there's any excuse to shut this street down and get a bunch of people out there socializing, they'll do it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It really is.
The Community Pride usually hosts the rummage sale, usually in March. They had it later this year because of the COVID, but
yeah, the rummage sale is something too. I mean, it's not just a regular little garage sale or something. It's 3-story building packed out with all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
And if you need it, I'm sure they sell it there. So it's very cool. Something to come out for. Kroger's Country Meats is a business here in Lecompton. They've been here for a long time. And they're right there on the highway. You got to drive by it when you drive through Lecompton. But Kroger Country Meats was our son's first job. And Vicki, I'm going to let you tell the story on how that kind of got started.
Oh, so, we got to know Gary and Linda, and one day I ran into them. It was in the wintertime, and we'd had a lot of snow that year, and they're an older couple, and they needed somebody to do snow removal, and they're like, well, we've posted ads, we can't get anybody to come out and do it, we're really looking for like a high school student. And so I mentioned it to my son, and the next time it snowed, he decided to go over there with Troy, and
so we got in the car and I drove him down there, and I told him, we asked him, he said he was interested in getting a job. So I took him down there and I told him, all right, just go in there and ask him, do you need help shoveling snow or something? And so he walked in, I was sitting in the car, and he walks back out and he waves me on and says, go on, I'll get a ride home later. And that was it. He interviewed, hired, and put to work right then and there.
Yeah, he worked for them for 4 years, all the way through high school, and he became pretty close with them. Our producer also, Robert, he also had his first job with Kroger's.
Yeah, it was Austin's first job. It was Robert's first job. And, it was more than a job for both of those young men. Gary, Linda, and Robin really was instrumental in their upbringing during that period of time while they worked there. Austin, I think he woke up late one time, showed up late for work one time. And he never showed up late again because, Linda just laid it out for him and said, look, that's not how you do things. In this world, it was a mom lecture. She really worked him over about it. And, Austin has so many cool stories. It's a meat market or meat store. And so Austin and Linda and Robin are all in a small area working up meat, and they talk, and Austin learned a lot from those girls talking, and he would say something unpopular and they'd set him straight on it. And Robert, I'm sure, went through the same thing. Robert, our producer, very first job ever, working at Kroger's Meat Market, went through the same thing that Austin did. Robert graduated high school, went on to college, got a degree, and he's now producing our podcast, as well as producing records for some people, some bands. What is it? Boy Soprano? Yeah, is one of the acts that Robert produces for. If you got any audio or video needs to be produced, look me up or leave a comment here, because Robert is very intelligent and he's just getting started out. And someday we're going to say, that famous guy, Robert? We were one of the first ones. So anyway, he's a good kid. And by kid, he's over 21. But
he's still a kid to us.
Yeah. And he's definitely going to make his mark on the world. And you want to be a part of that. So, yeah, Kroger's is a great place, great people, Gary, Linda,
great
and Robin.
Bratwurst, too. They have amazing bratwurst.
Yeah, you're right.
They were just featured this year in the Meat and Poultry magazine.
Yes, they were, and their bratwursts are amazing. Robin has really done amazing work there. So much so that so many restaurants and clubs in Lawrence order in bulk those sausages, and they're in there working their fingers to the bone to try to keep up with it. But
I think she's always developing a new flavor, and I think she has 3 or 4 different breweries that work with her, and they actually have their beer in some of the brats.
Right, and we live half a block from them, so we'll walk over and purchase some brats and take them home. They're always delicious. But yeah, check them out. Kroger's Meat Market. They're right there on the highway coming into Lecompton. And then we have Aunt Netter's. Aunt Netter's is right next door to us. And Jamin and Annette have been really good to us.
Definitely.
They went through the same exact thing that we've just gone through, where they bought, or they got into one of these storefronts in Lecompton, and it was
a lot
just
of work.
Yeah, it was a mess. And so they remodeled the whole thing, and Jamin loves that type of work. Jamin and I are different there, because I don't like remodeling. I don't like construction work. Jamin loved it. And he's so excited about remodeling and construction that he would come over while we're working and be like, hey, what are you guys working on today? And his eyes would just light up when we're talking about, framing this or doing that.
Half the time he'd stop and pitch in on whatever it was we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, he's not afraid to swing a hammer. And it's funny because he's running the cafe and there's no customers, because it's between lunch and breakfast or something. And so he would be over here helping us and just watching out the window. And if he'd see somebody pull up, he'd run over to the cafe and clean up, obviously, take their order. So, yeah, just the other day we got an order of raspberries in. And Jamin just left his post and came over and went down in the basement. And Vicky's throwing cases of raspberries down, and he's catching them and stacking them up.
Well, normally Troy would do it, but he's been laid up for the last 6 months with a broken ankle. So
yeah, so
Jamin's really helped out a lot.
They really have, and they're great people, and the food is good. Great. The food is great, and one of the high points of us being here doing all this construction work was when we take a break, we don't want to have to run home and fix food or go to Lawrence, so we just go next door and get food from Aunt Netter's Cafe.
Definitely. And they were also voted one of Kansas' best small town cafes, so you should go check them out. They have really good desserts and cupcakes, and their cinnamon rolls are really wonderful.
Yes, very good. They have a farmer burger that has been a big hit with all of me and my friends that came to help remodel. It's a burger with egg and bacon and ham on it, and it's delicious. I like to get it over easy, but it's not one to eat in public that way. It's messy, but it's good. There's a lot of other businesses in Lecompton. There's a hair salon, there's a pottery shop, there's Bald Eagle Barnwood, who sells reclaimed barnwood, and it looks really neat. Bald Eagle Mercantile next door to us outfitted the front of their store with that reclaimed barnwood, and it looks really cool.
And of course the speed shop we mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Right. And there's a really amazing cleaning business
good grief.
Headquartered in Lecompton, Kansas, the world headquarters of Squeaky Clean Home and Commercial Cleaning.
Oh yeah, that's
owned
neat.
by Vicki Clark.
That's my side job.
Right. But besides the commercial aspects of Lecompton, it's a beautiful place to be. It sits right on the Kansas River. We've spent a lot of time at that river. Our dogs. There's a walking trail on the north side of the river that walks, what would you say, 3/4 of a mile, maybe half a mile?
Maybe something like that.
Goes down to the river. And our dogs just love to walk down that trail with us, and we used to take the kids when they were little. And it's funny because our dogs, oh my gosh, they're little
water.
scaredy cats. They hate water. They hate the rain. If it rains, they ain't going outside. If the grass is wet, they're not going in the yard. Sometimes after a snow, we'll get a little mud out there, and they'll go out and get a little muddy. And coming back up onto the porch, they have muddy paws, so we just get a little bucket of warm water and dip their paws in the bucket. You'd think we were killing them.
Oh,
They hate it. But then we go walking down this trail towards the river. We get probably 50 to 100 yards from the river.
They take off.
They bolt. They just go
Straight for the
running
river.
right into the river, splashing and jumping around, and they're afraid of wet grass, but they love that river.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the river's real pretty. It's a big, wide river, not terribly deep. Well, it is in spots. I mean, we kayaked it, and I flipped my kayak multiple times in areas that was over my head. Yeah, we like to kayak down the river, and it's just real pretty to go down. And
See a lot of amazing wildlife and things down there. Bald eagles.
yeah, we went down the Delaware River that feeds into the Kansas River, and I was within 15 feet.
Probably less than that.
Yeah, I didn't even know. Vicky's like, Troy. And I looked up, and what was it, a American
It was
eagle?
American eagle. He was
Oh, my
huge.
gosh. Yeah, I've never been that close to an eagle in the wild. His claws were bigger than my hands were. And I was like, hey, buddy. And then just down the river, 30 yards, was a bald eagle.
Yeah.
And, it's just cool because you're just floating, calm, tranquil, and, oh, look, there's an eagle. And then he took flight right in front of us and his big old wingspan, and it was really cool. All right here in our little town in the middle of nowhere in USA, Kansas. Perry Lake is just, 5 miles from us?
Something
10.
like that. About somewhere between 5 and 10.
Yeah, it's a really nice place. I've spent a lot of days there fishing. Used to have a little Westie named Chewbacca, and he was so funny because when I got out that fishing pole, man, he got excited,
Oh, yeah.
barking and yapping and running. He was ready to get in the car, go fishing. And then when I'd be out there on the bank fishing, he stood right there at the bank, and as soon as I started reeling my pole in, whether I had a fish or not, he would charge out there in the water, barking and yapping, waiting for a fish. And it got to where I'd have to be real careful reeling in my pole because he'd charge the hook. And so I'd have to pull it around and away from him and try to get it in. But when I did get a fish, he'd go right after it. He was so funny. But yeah, Perry Lake's a real pretty lake. A lot of activity on the lake, sailing and boating and fishing. And they have Party Cove, where it's amazing to see, man. They'll get 200-300 boats just all linked together there in Party Cove and just hang out for the day. That's young people stuff. I don't do that. But yeah, and there's 2 museums and a lot of historical stuff in Lecompton. But you know what? Let's save that for next week. See if we can talk Paul Von Meyer and Tim Ruiz into coming in next week and sharing a lot of the history of historic Lecompton.
Well, they would definitely have a lot of that history.
Yes, they would. Paul's grandfather, George Von Meyer, I think, had a lot of history here. And they just pass it down. I think at the top of the hour, I told you we were going to taste a wine, apple cranberry.
Yep.
So we have Empty Nester's apple cranberry wine in front of us. This is not a wine that we're going to sell. This is one that we made for fun and was given out to friends and family.
This one had a little bit of problem when we bottled it. Apparently, it was still fermenting. Had 2 bottles pop corks on me.
It gets that little refreshing fizz, like what did we call that? Where you mix wine with seltzer.
A spritzer?
A spritzer. Yeah, it's not a spritzer, so don't hold me to that legally. But yeah, it's got kind of a spritzer taste to it. It looks really good. It's got a really neat color. Smells good.
It's nice.
You can
and
taste
tangy.
the apple for sure. Actually, you can taste the apple, and then you get that strong cranberry flavor on the back end.
Right.
It's very good. I like it.
I do
It's got
too.
that little bit of spritz in it. Hey, so join us next week. We're going to try to get some historical figures, historical people in here to really give us a rundown on the history of Lecompton. Thanks for tuning in.